So speaking of this, I have one more question before wrapping it up with the Necronomicon. Are
Sure.
you aware at all of the Hellier series?
I saw one episode, and that's only because George Hansen contacted me because his book, The Trickster and the Paranormal, which, by the way, is essential reading for everyone, was mentioned in it. But I found the series to be terribly slow moving and just not worth my time because of that. It was very, very slow moving.
It is.
But
I can see that. That's fair enough. But the interesting thing about, I'm sure you know Alan Greenfield. You know who Alan Greenfield is.
boy, we've exchanged some correspondence over the years, but we've never met.
Okay. Well, Greenfield by the end of the series comes in, and it is a very weird series, and I won't go into details about it. But Greenfield posits the idea that the events were set in motion as a mass initiation
Hmm.
of the people watching the show, because you're right that it is slow moving, but it is, I've actually watched the whole thing 3 times through. I'm completely fascinated by it, and I know other
Okay.
people that are as
Okay.
well. And but whatever, I'm not trying to talk about the series. My point
Sure.
is that the effect on people has indeed, I think it can be likened to a mass initiation. There have been a whole bunch of people who say we're interested in UFOs and ghosts that watched the series and came away with it going, wait, there's something bigger here. There's something more about like consciousness and the nature of reality and the occult and esotericism, etc. And I guess it's kind of a moot question because you didn't watch the series, but the idea of that the Greenfield puts forth that this was intentionally set in motion, not by the people involved, but by people outside of it, as a way to launch this mass initiation of people. Is that something that you would get at least a concept that you could give any
Oh, sure.
credibility to?
And I think it happens all the time. That's the problem. People act like it's new. It's nothing. It's not new. When
Hmm.
you just read the books of Giordano Bruno, read Iano Kulianis's Magic and Eros in the Renaissance. It's a little difficult reading, but read it. In fact, there's a new documentary that came out on it maybe last month. I had some modest disagreement with some of the things, but it was modest. It wasn't like terrible. Um, it's true. I mean, we're constantly dealing with the power of suggestion. And then what does that suggestion have on our psyche? So when people are getting their metaphysical views primarily from the media, it's possible to introduce or inject ideas. But remember, it's on a mass level. It doesn't matter for you. An initiation is a personal experience. So I wouldn't call it an initiation. That's again the wrong word to use. That's an abuse of the word. What it is, it's the manipulation. It's a mass manipulation, not an initiation.
Hmm.
That's very important because an initiation expands awareness and often does it to a particular point. There is not an ambiguity with the initiatic awakening. It doesn't mean it's complete. It simply means it's complete in and of itself. So when we say someone was initiated, no, they were manipulated.
Hmm.
And that's not a moral judgment. That's a statement. It's just as a chiropractor manipulates you to get your back in line, okay?
Okay.
Or a physical therapist manipulates you to get your elbows or shoulders working again. We have to step away from the heavy moralization on a lot of this language. That's destructive. That's deceptive. That keeps us from understanding what's happening. So within that framework, many of these television shows are heavily manipulative in that direction to get ideas into the popular psyche. And it's just, whereas an initiation is a personal encounter,
Okay.
personal experience. And it can be done ritualistically through a group, such as in classical initiation or some modern, but more importantly, it will be a progressive interior experience. And that's the point, progressive interior experience. It is not an end in and of itself. It is leading somewhere. It is progressive. It is interior. It has to do with your own awakening, and it is directly experiential. So it's not just a feeling of, oh, there's something out there. No, that's a manipulation, not a initiation. And the manipulation can be helpful or hindering. It all depends in leading you further along. It depends on how you respond to it.
Hmm. Okay.
Do you pick that up and do you go deeper in your spiritual journey? But the whole thing with UFOs and demonology is itself, for the most part, a distraction.
A
People
distraction
spend
from what?
from finding out who you are.
Hmm.
People spend a lifetime contemplating this stuff, and it takes them nowhere. So what? I mean, really, after a while, so what? Okay, so there's unidentified flying objects. Who cares? Do they come from the outer space or do they come from interdimensional space? Who cares? I mean, if you're not dealing with it on a daily basis, it doesn't matter. And if you are, what are the tools that you have to deal with it? How does this make you more aware of yourself? It doesn't. It's just often a distraction.
It's a distraction from self-improvement,
Right.
self-betterment, and self-exploration.
Right. Or doing something worthwhile in your community.
Okay.
And again, I'm not saying not to study it, but you see it becomes addictive. It
Right.
becomes a drug. It becomes another form of distraction, another drug. Especially
Definitely,
people
yeah.
do.
As
Especially
somebody
because,
who is interested in these topics, I have frequently had to break myself back from it's like you almost become obsessed with it, and you're trying to figure out things that you can never figure out, and it can become very harmful.
exactly. Whereas if you have the proper or a solid level of inner awakening, whatever that is, and that's a discussion for another time, you'll be able to understand those things. And then you'll be able to either do something about it or not, but you'll at least understand why you can do something about it or not. It's the same thing with astrology. That's the weather report. Now it's up to you to decide what you're going to do in that environment.